Chapter 1. Capri Macomb sat upright on the old stuffed sofa, which was not so stuffed now that its springs were sagging, and its tattered yielding up handfuls of sawdust and horsehair. Her eyes matched the stillness of the room. The spring sun had darkened her fair skin, and frivolously brightened her until she was an all-over tawny shade, like a gypsy. She sat with her hands and feet tightly crossed, anxious to make no sounds that might disturb the settling of their future. On Mr. Calendar's lips, their future sounded a dismal, infinitely small thing. Capri supposed this meant they were penniless. Across the room her mother Francia had perched on Uncle Shu's traveling trunk, and was watching the lawyer with kind eyes. "Well," she said at last, "there's no postponing a bit of bad news, is there? We won't bite, you know." Mr. Calendar sighed. He removed his glasses, blew on them, and polished each lens with his handkerchief. "You are quite prepared to hear the will?" Francia leaned forward and smiled at him. Even in the dim twilight of the room, she was beautiful, not as beautiful as the pictures that covered one wall of the room, but still crisp-featured and slim, despite the gray threading her hair. "We're prepared," the corners of her mouth turned down wryly, "aren't we, darling?" Capri nodded. "Very well." The crackly sheets of paper were unfolded, Mr. Calendar's spectacles returned to their proper place, and in a dry passionless voice, he began reading, "I, Schumann Abbott, being of sound mind and body." Capri's gaze wandered to the picture-lined walls, to the souvenirs of which Uncle Shu had been so proud. There were the smiling faces of people with whom he, and later Francia, had shared headlines and spotlights. She knew the autographs by heart: "Always yours W.C. Fields, Best of luck Bill Robinson, all best wishes darlings, Nora Bayes." They were all there: Marie Dressler, Sophie Tucker, Weber, and Fields, and a young man with a rope named Will Rogers, and there too, was Uncle Shu in caricature, photographs and drawings, from the age of 14, when he trod the boards alone, to the later years when he and Francia together, had swept this country and Europe, with their brother and sister act. King of Vaudeville they had called Uncle Shu, when he retired, at last, to the farm. Then vaudeville died, and now Uncle Shu was dead too, with only a few scratchy phonograph records, and a trunk full of scrapbooks to remember him by. "And we're broke, and it's not a bit surprising," thought Capri, remembering the hilarious failures they'd had in farming, the nights when Francia and Uncle Shu had turned their backs on the diminishing bank accounts, and pounded out old songs and minstrel stalls on the battered piano, until the house had barely survived the noise and the shouting. Mr. Calendar paused. Francia said, with a catch in her voice, "Well? And what are all Shu's earthly possessions?" Mr. Calendar cleared his throat. "This house," he said, removing his glasses once again, and pointing them with distaste at the big shabby room. "Mortgaged," said Francia. "The 20 acres of land on which it stands. Full of rocks in perfectly terrible soil. The furnishings in the house, worthless," said Francia, trying to smile. "And a carnival." "What?" gasped Francia. Mr. Calendar nodded. "An atrocity called the Toby Brothers Traveling Show." There was a terrifying silence, then Francia stamped her foot. "Of all things!" Capri laughed, because this was so like Uncle Shu. "You mean we own a carnival, Fran?" Her mother nodded. "It would seem so." She threw up her hands helplessly. "When did this happen? Why did he never tell us he owned a carnival?" Mr. Calendar winced. "For the same reason he did not consult me about it, until it had been purchased. The whole thing was a mistake. He bought it nearly 15 years ago, and has never received a penny from it, but he refused to sell. He said," Mr. Calendar coughed, "he said it gave him a bang to dabble in some kind of show business." "Carnivals aren't show business," said Francia. "I wouldn't know," replied Mr. Calendar coldly. "It was extremely foolish of him to buy it." Francia leaned forward. "It's a flop, of course? The carnival, I mean. Like the farm?" Mr. Calendar glanced through the other papers. "It's worth scarcely a nickel," he said apologetically. "Of course, I'm not surprised. Your brother, Mrs. Macomb, was most adept at picking losers. The carnival is, definitely third-rate. The police seem to raid it rather often, and I understand it is not allowed in any really respectable city. Games of chance, you know, wheels of fortune." Francia nodded as though this were to be expected, and continued to study the floor. Capri said brightly, "Well, anyway, we have a roof over our heads." Her mother gave her a severe look. "Not just a roof, darling, a farm which takes money to run." She shrugged helplessly. "I did want to send you to college." At Mr. Calendar's interested glance she added vaguely, "She gets rather good marks, you know." Capri, who was at the moment far more interested in becoming an explorer, a nurse, or a poet, said nothing. This was her mother's scene, and Capri was of necessity, only a spectator. "Shall I put the carnival up for sale then?" asked Mr. Calendar. "I've taken the liberty of making out the necessary papers for you to sign." Capri's mother sighed as she reached for the pen. "No one will ever buy it," she said. "Oh, but on the contrary," said Mr. Calendar surprisingly, "there is someone who wants very much to buy it." Francia paused. "Really?" "Yes. It has been managed for many years by Mr." He again consulted his papers. "By Mr. Nicholas Sabo. Your brother had several offers from him, and upon hearing of your brother's death, I received a telegram from him. I said it was worth scarcely a nickel, but he is willing to pay a very fair price." "Yes, indeed, a very fair price." Francia laid down the pen and frowned. "Why?" she asked simply. "Why should he want to buy it? You say my brother never received a profit from the carnival, and yet, the one man who knows this, wants to purchase it. Why?" Mr. Calendar shrugged. "I have no idea." Capri watched her mother stand up and walk resolutely over to the window. "How many rides does the carnival have?" she asked suddenly. "I beg your pardon?" "Rides. You know, loop-to-loops, merry-go-rounds. The size of every carnival is determined by the number of rides it owns. The sideshows are hired." "Oh." Mr. Calendar retreated to his papers, and at last, victoriously announced there were 8 rides. A little thick flicker of curiosity moved across his face. "Is that large?" he inquired, in spite of himself. Francia shook her head. "Small. Very small." She stared thoughtfully out the window. And Capri, waiting, knew that she looked out on rocky fields with unfertile slopes, and a forlorn run-down old mansion. As Mr. Calendar had said, Uncle Shu was adept at picking losers. Francia was thinking this too. Aloud she said ruefully, "One old farm, good for nothing. One carnival, the same." "Well, Capri, if you had to choose between the two, which would you take?" Capri grinned. "The carnival, of course." She was not quite serious. By choosing the more incongruous, she meant only that she was ready for anything. But her mother nodded. "We can't keep both. We'll be lucky if we can hang on to one." She turned and faced Mr. Calendar resolutely. "Mr. Calendar," she said, "there's no use keeping the farm. Capri and I could never run it alone, and there's no money for help. We will keep the carnival." It brought Mr. Calendar to his feet with an exclamation. "But, my dear lady," he cried in horror. Francia whirled to face him. "Yes, yes," she cried. "Go ahead and say I'm mad. But we haven't a dime. I'm too old to sing and dance again, no one remembers me. This farm, its bad years have ruined us. Yet here is a carnival that belongs to us, and someone wants to buy it. Does anybody want to buy our farm? No. Therefore, there must be some hope for that carnival. Mustn't there, Mr. Calendar?" "Well, really," stammered the lawyer, visibly overcome. "What can I lose?" said Francia more calmly. "To me it is worth the chance. There is always the possibility that a carnival can be brought to life again. In a way, Mr. Calendar, that's my world." "But your child?" Capri started. Her mother threw her an amused glance. "Not exactly a child, Mr. Calendar. She can run a tractor and milk a cow." "Can you milk a cow, Mr. Calendar?" Their lawyer stiffened. "That's all right," said Francia. "Capri, you don't mind?" Capri laughed. She laughed because Mr. Calendar's face looked like crumpled paper, and because there was enough of Uncle Shu's blood in her veins, to delight in an uncertain future. "Mind," she cried, and put away from her the heartbreaking thought of leaving the beloved old house. "Mind. Goodness, when do we leave?"